Hi, this is Jill Riley, and I am the Communications Assistant for the Pacific Northwest Conference. And today I am joined by Rollie Persson, and he is with National Covenant Properties. So welcome, Rollie.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's so fun to be here.
Yeah, I love getting these little snippets and these little snapshots of what the covenant is all about, and you're an integral part of what happens in the covenant. Can you tell us a little bit about what National Covenant Properties does?
Absolutely. National Covenant Properties is the lending arm of the covenant. We lend to covenant churches, covenant institutions, affiliates of covenant churches all across the country and in Canada and Hawaii and Alaska. Those are some of my favorite areas as well. But we wouldn't be able to do those loans if we didn't have investments from covenant people across the country. That's part of the little known area of National Covenant Properties is that we do provide investments for people, and it's those investments that allows us to do the loans across the country that we do.
When you're talking about investments, are you talking about like end of life estates and things like that?
The end of life estates, that's more with Covenant Trust. National Covenant Properties will provide fixed term investments like 5-year certificates, or we have a demand certificate, which is money that's available to you right now, and then various other terms of investments that people can do. We also offer IRAs and health savings accounts and those kind of things. All of those investments are what allow us to do what we do today. Um, and then and something that is coming out shortly, we're offering some brand new products that I would love to just tell you, but I can't.
Okay.
But they will be available at your annual celebration. That's what we're gearing for, where we can announce them, and so look for them at that time.
That'd be great. So, how did you get into this arm of the covenant? What carried you there?
Well, probably a reluctance to work for the covenant is what carried me into the area that I'm at. And I'll tell you a just short story. I am a pastor's kid, and I told my dad I'd never work for the covenant. And so I went off into mortgage banking and that kind of stuff. And it's the mortgage banking that actually brought me back into National Covenant Properties because I volunteered on one of the boards, which is called Covenant Development Board, and then I got asked to enter National Covenant Properties 16 years ago, and I've never regretted it since. So
Yeah. What makes you passionate about what you do?
I love the covenant. I love the churches, and I love to serve the churches that are in the covenant. That's what drives me. Just seeing seeing what God's doing firsthand in so many different areas is just a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's and to be able to get kind of a global view of that must be really
Right.
exciting.
Well, I'm involved in my local church, but when you're in the local church, you kind of just get focused on what's around you. But
Sure.
I get to travel out and see what's happening up in your neck of the woods, up in Montana, what's happening in the Pacific Northwest and other places. And then I also cover the Pacific Southwest, and then I cover the other Northwest, which is Minnesota. I cover that area. So I get to see church done in many different ways, but it's the common element of the covenant that brings it all together. And I just feel like I'm part of each of those congregations when I'm out there.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So, in addition to investments, what kind of services do you provide for churches?
Well, we have an arm that I'm a part of called Real Estate Services. And Real Estate Services is kind of a catch-all for any questions or anything you have to do with real estate. We can probably help you. One of those areas, if a church is looking to lease out some space, I'll come alongside them and help them, determine what type of space they need, um, to make sure a church can get into something that they can use and not get into something that's going to be too expensive for them in the long run. Because the that's one area that we do. And then also, if a church is leasing out some of their property, say we like to see a church building being used 24/7. And so the best way to do that sometimes is to lease out space when the church is empty. So I can help to give them some ideas, help them with what type of agreements to have, with parties that you have coming in, and just help them get off on the right foot. Um, and so sometimes churches are selling property. I can jump in and help guide them through that process, get them connected with the right professionals to do the job. We just want to be there as a friend and an advocate, and help point you in the right direction, because it's navigating real estate is a complex world, and we try to make it simple for you.
Absolutely. How did the pandemic affect your work and people's ability to buy, sell, retain property, all of that?
Well, that was a very interesting time. March of 2020 I'll probably never forget. But what we strive to do at NCP is, one of the early things we did during the pandemic is call all of our churches that had loans. We just got on the phone to talk to people, and we realized that that's the way we can stay connected and understand what they need. We helped guide people through the PPP program, that government program that provided provided churches funds, and helped to take away the scariness of doing something like that. We just look for opportunities to serve our churches. And so churches during the pandemic, they really didn't, they suspended a lot of building programs that they had thought about, because they just didn't know, what tomorrow was going to bring. Um,
Absolutely.
w- and so we helped provide financial coaching during that time, help some churches to navigate different ways of budgeting during that time, helping churches to figure out what is it appropriate reserves to have during that time. And that's where we've done financial training in your conference quite a bit. I mean, your conference is the one where we've done it the most.
Hmm.
And that's kind of out of that area where we discovered that churches need help in how to communicate financial information to the congregation.
Absolutely.
It's not an easy thing to do, but these through our financial trainings that we offer for churches, that has made it easier to do. And we recently had one down in Tacoma that was attended by a number of churches, and we've had one, sometimes two, every year, and we really enjoy doing that for the Pacific Northwest Conference.
That's great. How do you communicate with individuals and churches the spiritual side of money and giving and saving and investing? How do you communicate that to people?
Boy, that's a tough question that we get quite often. I mean, because you get some churches that just say, well, we shouldn't be borrowing money, because that's what the Bible says, you shouldn't be borrowing that way. But what we look at is, your church building is a tool for ministry, and that tool sometimes needs to be sharpened. Sometimes the tool has done its useful life and needs to be thrown away. But when you consider it as a tool for ministry, and you have staff in your church, and you have to pay staff. I mean,
Mhm.
most churches have a copy machine, you got to pay for that. So so if you don't have a good tool for ministry, as a church building or a church or a lease space, then it's hard to do ministry. And so you just have to make sure that tool is sharp and efficient, and always ready to do the work that God has out there for you. And you just never know, what
Right.
what God has in store for your church.
Right, great answer. I just have one more question for you. And it is, how can a church best set themselves up financially to be in a position to move to the next step, to be able to either purchase property or lease property or be able to build on, add on, grow up, whatever? How can a church put themselves in the best financial position?
Well, the first thing the church should probably do is give me a call, because what we'll do is help look over the church's finances for them, because we want to make sure that you're not putting too much of your money in one area over another to balance it out. You've got to make sure that you don't have too much in your salary area. You're not paying too much for facility, so that you have money left over for ministry. And then if you look at what you need to do and you feel like you need to get another building or you need to do an addition, we can talk through what that's going to take. We can help guide you to good financial management on your balance sheet and your profit and loss. Make sure those are looking well so you can communicate to the congregation. And then look at a capital fund drive. Those things are very scary, but we can guide you and connect you to the right people to figure out what you need, and what's reasonable to raise during a time. And it's not a quick process, but it's a gradual process, and we want to help you as early as possible to make that step for you.
Make that plan. That's great. Well, I will put your contact information and the contact information for National Covenant Properties below this video so people can
Sure.
find it. And I just appreciate your time and your work and your personal and spiritual investment into the covenant.
Well, thank you so much. It's so fun to serve this conference. I've been serving it for 16 years, and I've met so many wonderful people. And please call me at any time, and love to hear from you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Rollie.
All right, thank you so much.